Good morning, dear students. We are going to discuss lateral ventricle today. So, in this picture, you can see this is the mid-sagittal section of head and neck region, where the section has been taken showing the medial surface of the cerebrum. So, as we have already done with cerebrum, now I hope you will identify this is the medial surface where you will see basically the falx cerebri. That is the fold of dura mater, which is actually indenting itself to divide the two cerebral hemispheres. Now, on this medial aspect of the brain, if you observe, what is this structure you are observing? Yes, this is corpus callosum, rostrum, genu, body, and splenium. Now, this particular part, what we see in this section here, we have is thalamus. Below this area is midbrain. This is pons. This is medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is continuous spinal cord. This is big cerebral hemisphere which has frontal lobe, parietal lobe, and the occipital lobe here. In the hindbrain, you are also finding this is cerebellum. The fold of dura mater between the occipital lobe of the cerebrum and the cerebellum is falx tentorium cerebelli. This is the tentorium cerebelli. Now, today's topic is lateral ventricle. So, basically, ventricle is nothing but a cavity inside the brain, which is basically filled with cerebrospinal fluid. Now, below this corpus callosum, if you observe, there is a shining membrane, which is actually called as septum pellucidum. If you just cut this septum pellucidum, deep inside you will enter into a cavity which is nothing but lateral ventricle. Okay, so this lateral ventricle is related to three lobes of the, actually almost four lobes of the cerebrum. Frontal lobe, occipital lobe, temporal lobe, and central part is related to parietal lobe. We will see the details as we proceed because this picture is very good. I just wanted you to know the things what you are seeing in the brain inside the cranial cavity. Now, we are going to see the parts of lateral ventricle. We will see the relations of each part of the lateral ventricle. We will also see the communications of the lateral ventricle, how the CSF is formed, how is it circulated. We will see the applied anatomy and summary. Now, if you see the whole brain, as I said, like below this corpus callosum, this particular area, we have lateral ventricle. Okay. So we know like surrounding the brain, we have the, what are those? Meninges, coverings. How many coverings? Three coverings. The outermost covering is dura mater, middle is arachnoid matter, and the innermost one is pia mater. So below the arachnoid matter, we have a space called as subarachnoid space. And we know inside, in the subarachnoid space, we have CSF. Inside the ventricles also, like lateral ventricle, third ventricle, fourth ventricle, also we have CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. So in the fourth ventricle, we have certain openings. Okay, the foramen of Luschka and foramen of Magendie. Through this fourth ventricle, you will see the CSF will be successfully moving out in the subarachnoid space. So that's how from the lateral ventricle, the CSF moves to third ventricle, from third ventricle to fourth ventricle, and through the openings of the fourth ventricle, it successfully enters into the subarachnoid space. Now, if you just see this CSF flow, so inside the two cerebral hemispheres, we have one lateral ventricle each. Hence, how many lateral ventricles do we have? Two. This is one outline of lateral ventricle. This is one more outline of lateral ventricle. So we have 1 and 2. These are the two lateral ventricles. So the lateral ventricle will have anterior horn, central part, posterior horn, and inferior horn. Hence, whole of this thing is nothing but lateral ventricle. The right and left lateral ventricle are connected by means of foramen of Monro. From here, the CSF is now entering into third ventricle. From the third ventricle, we have a connection to fourth ventricle via cerebral aqueduct of Sylvius. From the fourth ventricle, we have two openings, that is the foramen of Luschka and foramen of Magendie, through which CSF will be successfully reaching subarachnoid space. The fourth ventricle CSF continuously flows into the central canal of spinal cord. Okay, so these are the ventricles. This is lateral ventricle. This is third ventricle. This is fourth ventricle. Okay, then now the CSF flow, it starts from the lateral ventricle, right and left. This is the foramen of Monro into which it enters. Now it enters into the third ventricle. Through aqueduct of Sylvius, it enters into the fourth ventricle. From the fourth ventricle, the openings of foramen of Magendie and Luschka. From here, it is entering into subarachnoid space. Then subarachnoid granulations are the specialized capillary network what we find in the subarachnoid space, which actively absorb the CSF into dural venous sinuses, especially into the superior sagittal sinus. Okay, let us see in this flow chart. You are finding this is corpus callosum, below is septum pellucidum. If you cut septum pellucidum, we have lateral ventricle. CSF from the lateral ventricle through interventricular foramen of Monro, it enters into third ventricle. From third ventricle through cerebral aqueduct, CSF enters into the fourth ventricle. From fourth ventricle, we have two openings, foramen of Magendie and Luschka, from where it is entering into the subarachnoid space. Not only that, the CSF present in the fourth ventricle continues in the central canal of spinal cord. Okay, then the CSF flows to the dorsal surface of the brain where we have arachnoid granulations which form a one-way valve and let the excess CSF enter into dural venous sinuses. Nothing but the venous drainage, that too it is draining into superior sagittal sinus. These are nothing but the arachnoid granulations. This is the subarachnoid space. From this capillary network, the excess CSF will be drained into dural venous sinuses, especially superior sagittal sinus. Okay, these are the arachnoid granulations. This is how they look in the human brain. So now the close-up picture of the brain we are finding. What is this particular part of the brain on the medial surface of the brain? Yes, corpus callosum. What is this membrane? Septum pellucidum. If you uncover this membrane, we will be entering into lateral ventricle. Between the two thalami, this is one thalamus, when you do the cut section, right and left thalami, between the two thalami, we will have third ventricle. From the cerebral aqueduct, we will see the CSF is moving into fourth ventricle. From the fourth ventricle, we will see the CSF will be moving into central canal of the spinal cord. Okay. Then generally, usually lateral ventricle can be an essay question. Usually the question will be framed something like this. A 55-year-old man was being investigated for signs and symptoms that suggested presence of cerebral tumor. Examination of CT scan, computed tomography scan, showed gross enlargement and distortion of the lateral ventricle. What other investigations might be carried out in this patient? To display the ventricles of the brain, using your knowledge of neuroanatomy, determine the location of tumor. So in this patient, we have to, with the help of the knowledge what we gain, we will diagnose the case like it is a tumor which is entering into the lateral ventricle. That means here we need to discuss the anatomy of lateral ventricles in detail. This is the clue given. So lateral ventricles are two irregular cavities situated one in each cerebral hemisphere. Each lateral ventricle communicates with third ventricle through an interventricular foramen of Monro. Okay, so each lateral ventricle has central part and it has three horns, anterior, posterior and inferior. Now see here, this is one cerebral hemisphere. This is one more cerebral hemisphere. In each cerebral hemisphere, this is the lateral ventricle. This is the anterior horn, what we see inside the frontal lobe. This is posterior horn. Which lobe? Yes, occipital lobe. This is inferior horn. Which lobe? Yes, temporal lobe. So in the center, we have central part of the lateral ventricle. So let us summarize the horns: anterior horn, posterior horn, inferior horn, and the central part. Now, apart from this, you will see right and left lateral ventricles are connected by means of a foramen. You call it as interventricular foramen of Monro. Okay. So usually inside the ventricles, we have specialized cells called as ependyma. It is ependymal cells which are lining the ventricular cavities. Now we will see the content is nothing but the CSF, and we have just seen the choroid plexus, which will be choroid plexus. I will show you, which will be actually helping in the synthesis of CSF. We have seen the communication, interventricular foramen, the shape and everything. Now, what are the various parts we have? So this arrow is indicating central part. The front arrow into the frontal lobe is called as anterior horn. In some books, it is given as frontal horn also. This is posterior horn, which is going into occipital lobe. You can also call it as occipital horn. This is inferior horn, which is going into the temporal lobe. Okay. Then, of course, the central part. So if you just give an outline of cerebral hemispheres, right and left, in each cerebral hemisphere, we have these ventricles. So one is right lateral ventricle and left lateral ventricle. So this becomes anterior horn of right side, anterior horn of left side. This is the central part of right and left side. This is posterior horn of right and left side. This is inferior horn, which is going into temporal lobe. Okay. Then right and left lateral ventricles are connected by means of interventricular foramen, also called as foramen of Monro. From here, the CSF is now entering into third ventricle. From third ventricle, we have cerebral aqueduct. The CSF will enter into fourth ventricle. Okay. Then. Now let us talk about each part of lateral ventricle. Central part, anterior, posterior horns, inferior horns, because this is all part of usually essay question. So in central part, we will see the boundaries, we will see medial wall, roof and floor. Okay, this is the central part. Okay, so now body, central part is also called as body. Now, if you see, I have shown you one outline of two cerebral hemispheres, like right cerebral hemisphere, left cerebral hemisphere. This connection between the two cerebral hemispheres is corpus callosum. So this is the central part what we find in both the cerebral hemispheres, because you are finding two thalami also here. The space between the two thalami, I said, is third ventricle. So this is the orientation of the picture. You need to practice this diagram so that you will be able to write by looking at this diagram. Now this is the central part of right lateral ventricle, central part of left lateral ventricle. Now the roof of this central part, how is it formed? Yes, corpus callosum. This is the floor area, right? So the floor is formed by superior surface of thalamus. This is the thalamus, hence this is the superior surface of thalamus. Then we have thalamostriate vein, stria terminalis, and the body of caudate nucleus. You can see in order from medial to lateral, from medial to lateral. These are the four structures we have. Then in the midline, separating right and left lateral ventricles, what is the name of that partition we have? Yes, septum pellucidum. Okay, I said once you cut septum pellucidum, you will be able to see lateral ventricle. Okay, then we will see body of fornix also on the medial relation of the central part. Okay. Now see this, whatever has been cut and dissected out, you are finding this area is central part. Okay, in the central part, the floor is formed by caudate nucleus, thalamostriate vein. This is a different picture. This is Chaurassia's diagram, which helps us you to easily, like, at least remember and reproduce in the exam. This is how the real brain looks when you take different type of section. So in the floor, you will see the caudate nucleus. You will see thalamostriate vein, stria terminalis. Okay. Then we have this area is thalamus. This network of capillaries is choroid plexus, and this whole thing is actually fornix. Okay, and there is a trigone which is actually called as collateral trigone. So the boundaries of this is of course third ventricle. Now this is the picture what you are supposed to draw for the central part of third ventricle. Roof, corpus callosum, medially septum pellucidum and fornix. In the floor, we have the thalamus, thalamus striate vein, strata terminalis, and caudate nucleus. This much you try to remember. So, in any ventricle, if you see whether it is lateral ventricle or third ventricle or fourth ventricle, in all ventricles, we have a network of capillaries which is called choroid plexus. And choroid plexus is spongy tissue located in the ventricles. It is a rich capillary bed which is situated in the pia mater. So it has choroid endothelial cells. The function of choroid plexus is production of CSF about like 35 ml per minute. Total volume is 70 to 120 ml. Okay. Once you are done with the central part, now let us go to anterior horn. Anterior horn is going into the frontal lobe. So it has roof again, floor, medial wall, and lateral wall. Okay. Now coming to the anterior horn, see this is right lateral ventricle. This is left lateral ventricle. So the roof is formed by corpus callosum. Now the anterior relations, you will see genu and rostrum of corpus callosum. Floor is formed by head of caudate nucleus. Medially, you are finding that partition, that is same thing, septum pellucidum and column of fornix. Okay, this is a separate picture where you are finding this is the roof, corpus callosum, medially septum pellucidum. Then in the floor, we are finding the head of the caudate nucleus. Okay, now this is the median sagittal section picture which has been taken from Netter's atlas. So what is this? Corpus callosum. Here septum pellucidum has been removed and you are finding this cavity. That cavity is nothing but lateral ventricle. Okay. This is the choroid plexus which I was telling, it is present in all ventricles. Whether it be lateral ventricle, third ventricle, fourth ventricle, everywhere we have this capillary network for the production of CSF. So this is choroid plexus. Okay. Then now coming to the posterior horn, into which lobe the posterior horn goes? Yes, occipital lobe. So in the posterior horn, it has roof, lateral wall, which is formed by tapetum, medial wall, which is formed by the bulb of the posterior horn, and then we will see calcarevis. I'll show you different pictures. Now see here, this is posterior horn. So posterior horn is found in the occipital lobe. So this is the roof area. Of blue in color is posterior horn and this is roof. So what are we finding here? We are finding tapetum part of corpus callosum. Medial wall, we are finding the bulb of the posterior horn. Above, this is calcarine sulcus which produces a elevation inside the posterior horn of the lateral ventricle. So this elevation is actually called as calcar avis. Corresponding elevation which is produced by posterior horn, we call this as calcar avis. So in the medial wall, we have bulb of posterior horn above and calcar avis below. Okay, so this is the close-up picture of the posterior horn. These are the roof structures where we have tapetum. You can also write optic radiation and also inferior longitudinal fasciculus. Inferiorly, we have forceps major. You can also talk about this calcarine sulcus which is projecting here, and corresponding projection of the posterior horn of lateral ventricle is calcar avis. So then we have inferior horn. We know inferior horn goes into which lobe? Temporal lobe. So it has roof and the lateral wall. Then it has floor. So roof is formed by tapetum. This is the tapetum. Then tail of caudate nucleus and stria terminalis and amygdaloid nucleus. So in the floor, we will see pes hippocampus. You can see this is the hippocampus. Okay, here we have alveus, fimbriae, dentate, gyrus, and collateral eminence. Okay, so this is the collateral eminence. So these are the structures what we find in the floor. Okay, then these are the floor structures in the inferior horn. We find hippocampus, alveus, fimbriae. Okay, and this is the collateral eminence. Okay, so contralateral upper homonymous quadrantinopia is the loss of vision in the upper same quadrant of visual field in both the eyes if you see there is any blockage in the lateral ventricle which is related to optic tract. Okay, this is the radiological visualization of the lateral ventricle. Anterior horn number 1, number 2 is central part, 3, 4 and 5 is actually posterior horn. The last one below 5, this is the inferior horn. Okay, and this type of radiographic visualization is pneumoencephalography. Okay, so radiological encephalization, you are visualization, you are finding this is the shadow of lateral ventricle. This is the lateral view where we have lateral ventricle, third ventricle, aqueduct of Sylvius, fourth ventricle. This is like anteroposterior view where you have right and left lateral ventricles, right? So this is ventriculography. In case of MRI and CT scan, you can see this is the normal right lateral ventricle. Here you have compressed lateral ventricle. What we have seen in the clinical case, like there is a compression because of tumors, isn't it? So intracranial hematoma also may be seen here. Okay, subdural hematoma. So in case if CSF is increased more than normal, that condition is hydrocephalus, where you find the accumulation of CSF. There may be blockage of foramen of Monro. So, intraventricular hemorrhage or hemorrhage in the caudate nucleus we can see. So, fatal intraventricular bleeding also may take place. So, now you must be understanding this question now, like 55-year-old man was being investigated for signs and symptoms that suggested presence of cerebral tumor. Okay, so gross enlargement and distortion of lateral ventricle. So the other investigations also we have seen now, isn't it? This is the beautiful picture which I wanted to show you. This is the median sagittal section of the brain. So in this medial section, we are finding the medial surface of the cerebrum, right? So in the medial surface of cerebrum, of course, we are finding the sulci, isn't it? What is this structure? Corpus callosum, callosal sulcus, cingulate sulcus, cingulate gyrus, so many other things. This is calcarine sulcus. Try to study this sulci gyrae with the help of brains like this. Now see here, this is corpus callosum, right? Rostrum, genu, body and splenium. From there, are you finding there is a membrane? So this membrane is nothing but septum pellucidum, which is thin vertical sheet of nervous tissue where we have both gray and white matter. If you just cut this septum pellucidum, you are entering into this empty space. This empty space is nothing but lateral ventricle. So on each side we have one ventricle. That means we have two lateral ventricles, right? This is thalamus. Between the right and left thalamus, the cleft is third ventricle. Lateral ventricle, third ventricle. And as you come down, like in the hindbrain, behind the pons and medulla and in front of the cerebellum, we have fourth ventricle. So they are covered on either side by the specialized cells called as ependymal cells. Okay. Now you can see here, right and left lateral ventricles will be connected by means of interventricular foramen of Monro. Isn't it? Lateral ventricles, we know they contain capillary plexus called as void plexus. Isn't it? So here you find all the ventricles, anterior horn, central part, posterior horn and inferior horn of lateral ventricle. This is interventricular foramen, this is third ventricle, this is cerebral aqueduct, this is fourth ventricle. Continuation is the central canal of the spinal cord, right? So you have different pictures showing us the lateral ventricle. And of course, we have seen the relations. In this picture, we can see this is corpus callosum, septum pellucidum, and here you are finding the choroid plexus, which is present in the choroid fissure. So choroid plexus and fissure, they are present in the central part of the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. Tila choroidea, which is bilaminar pial fold covering the ependyma, and it is invaginated by network of capillaries. Fringe like tuft of blood vessels is nothing but capillaries. Okay, so this is choroid fissure where we have the choroid plexus capillary network which we see in the lateral ventricle. This capillary plexus is derived from anterior choroidal artery, which is the branch of internal carotid artery, and posterior choroidal artery, which is the branch from posterior cerebral artery. Now, formation and circulation, we know like formation of CSF is choroid plexus, circulation is lateral ventricle, then third ventricle, fourth ventricle, subarachnoid space, central canal of spinal cord. Okay, then the whole of the CSF is draining into the venous blood by means of arachnoid granulation. Into which sinus? Superior sagittal sinus. Isn't it? So ventricular system of brain can be visualized. We have seen CT scan, MRI.